respect and are grateful for the generations of Native people who have cared for this land. So I do have a few announcements before we get started. Tonight's program is being recorded for our Courageous Conversations library of speakers, which you can find on the St. John's website. There are welcome books at the registration table describing our work here at St. John's and the context for our committees and special groups. Please take one if you're interested in joining in on some of the service projects, activities, and field trips hosted by the women of the church. We do also have a free will basket, offering basket at the door. Welcome maintains fiscal independence from St. John's Church, meaning that we receive no funding from the church for these programs or the many other outreach programs that the women of St. John's carry out worldwide. The other announcement I have is this Saturday is our Cannon River Conference spring event. It's Saturday, May 3rd from 8 to noon at Vang Lutheran Church in Denison. The speaker is Teresa Seamers, who I believe is a veteran and a Lutheran pastor, and she's going to be speaking about where have you seen God lately? So 8 o'clock to 8:50 is registration, and then the program, and there's lunch afterwards. And it's all for the price of $15. So if you're looking for something wonderful to do on Saturday, I hope you can join us. We will have question and answer following the program. You're welcome to step up to the mic with your questions. Finally, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize the members of the Justice and Education Committee of WELCA that plan and put these programs on. Joe Franklin, unfortunately, is not with us tonight. Don Tommerdahl, just wave your hands there. Michelle Kramer-Pervolt, and Margie O'Laughlin. I will now invite Michelle to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Allison, and just a reminder that we are part of the WELCA group, and our group has worked very hard this year. This is our last in their series for this session of Courageous Conversations. Our theme was We Belong to One Another, and I think when we started in September, we had no idea how, as things evolved, that became more and more important in our world today. So I'm going to introduce our fabulous last speaker. His workshop will be called Visible and Invisible Borders. So our speaker today is Xavier Tavera, and he has a passion for portraiture for most of his life as a way to engage with people and their stories. Tavera's work oscillates between documentary and the imagined, with the sole purpose of telling a story. After moving from Mexico City to the United States, Tavera had devoted himself to tell the stories of the Latin American diaspora, often recontextualizing with the purpose of providing visibility and fair representation. Tavera has shown his work extensively in the Twin Cities, nationally and internationally, including Germany, Scotland, Mexico, Chile, Uruguay, Switzerland, Portugal, Greece, and China. His work is part of the collections of the Minneapolis Institute of Art, Plains Art Museum, Minnesota Museum of American Art, Minnesota History Center, Ramsey County Historical Society, the Wiseman Art Museum, and the National Museum of Mexican Art. He is also a recipient of the McKnight Fellowship, Jerome Travel Award, State Arts Boards, and Bronica Scholarship. Please give a warm welcome to Xavier Tavera.
Let me try this for a second while I'll speak. I did this one this morning. Let's see if it's too distracting. Absolutely. How about there? Oh, now I can hear myself. It was all in my head. This morning I put it together. This is a trip that I did to Los Ébanos in Texas. So we're going to go actually across the border back and forward. Let's see if we have time. If not, I'll start the slideshow. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Every time that I get to talk about these important issues is a joy for me. Thank you for having this group. It's amazing. I was looking at the lineup of people. It is quite something. The other thing that I wanted to say is Happy May Day, right? We tend to forget that somebody before us fought real hard for the jobs that we have. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. How did I get? Is it interfering, this music, with that? No, we're good? Okay. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how did I get to where I am. I've been photographing since I remember. According to me, I've been photographing since I was 13 years old. But a couple of years ago, I went back to Mexico to visit my mom. And she said, like, no, you were 6. When you were 6, you demanded to bring a camera to summer camp. And you brought back a picture of the grass and a picture of the sky to show your mom that there was green grass and blue skies at camp. And more seriously, I started to photograph. I didn't thought that I could use photography as a way of communication. I thought of it as a business. I'm going to make a business. The business completely failed. It tanked, and I realized that it tanked very soon. I was photographing theater and dance troupes in Mexico City. And I will spend hours photographing, developing my film, enlarging in a little room in the back of my parents' house. And I will go super happy, right? Very proud of what I have, and I give that to the theater or dance director. And they will look at them. Oh, look at that. We already crossed the border once. Now, soon we're gonna go back. It took what, like 2 minutes? That's as long as it takes. And they will browse through my pictures and say, how much are these? Well, they're $3 each picture. And they were like, ooh, wow. And of my stack of 25, 30 pictures, they will take 2 and give me back the rest. And I'm like, this is not working. This is not working at all. And I will grab the pack, and it's like, this is more helpful for you. Use them however you want, and give me my $6, right? Eventually, I started to see that this can be a means of communication. And actually, this is how I communicate. This is how I see the world. At the beginning of the 1990s, I was in law school. I did 3 years of law school. And somebody in Texas invited me to do some industrial photography in Houston. So I moved there. I was going to move there for 2 months and immediately go back to Mexico and figure what I was going to do with my life, probably finish law school. And at the end of those 2 months, that same company told me, I like how you work, and we want to offer you a job, and we want you to come to this wonderful place where there's the wonderful weather and wonderful people that is called Minnesota. So in September of 1996, I grab my little truck with Texas plates and I move up here. They told me, we can give you a job, we can start arranging your papers, and we can pay for your school. And I thought, this is a wonderful opportunity. So by 97, I was already enrolled at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design. At the end of 97, the company went bankrupt, and they left. Everybody fled. And I was stranded here. I was 26 years old, and I thought I can make it on my own. Being young and stupid is the most wonderful thing. And I was able to hold my studies until 98. At the end of 98, my debt was so high. I had 2 scholarships, and I was working super hard to pay it off, but I couldn't make it. So I dropped the school again. So I tell my students, I'm a proud 2-time dropout of college. And I say that because everything that I have learned through economical hardship, through so many things, I cherish that. It's not a dark time in my personal history. It's something that I really cherish. This is something that has made me the person who I am right now. It took me about 10 years to go back to school because 2 institutions were asking me to teach. I was teaching small workshops here and there, youth, whatnot. And I went back to school in my upper 30s, and it was very uncomfortable. The first week was uncomfortable because I was surrounded with 18-year-old kids until one of them approached me and he said, can I ask you something? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want? And he said, do you have the time to check my portfolio? And that kid, I don't remember his name. If I ever see him, I'm gonna just hug him real hard, because that make me think, they don't see me as the old guy back in school. They see me as a resource. And I'm super grateful for him. And immediately I went to, I finished my BFA at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, 2 more years, and immediately I went to do my MFA at the University of Minnesota. And I finished that successfully, and right away I taught at the University of Minnesota for 6 years. And throughout all those 6 years, I was intensely looking for a track position in education. And I was looking everywhere. And I applied to New York City, to Chicago, to San Diego, to Arizona. You name it, I applied for it. At the end of that 6 year, they offered me here at Carleton College a visiting position, and I accepted that. And at that same year, they opened a position in photography, and I thought, I was about to say, like, maybe education is not my thing, because I'm always so close to getting the position and I don't get it. And I told myself, I'm gonna try one more time. And I was super lucky, and they offered me the position. So I've been at Carleton College for 5 years now. So I'm gonna show you my, since the talk is about borders, I'm going to show you the work that I started 9 years ago, 2016. I already had a very good idea what I wanted to do. I was doing these 60 millimeter films of Mexican allegories, and that same year, the first term of Trump was in place. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure if I can continue with this other work. I need to do something about what is going on here. And I crumpled my thesis, I tossed it out the window, and I started this new project. I truly believe that any Latino in the United States is highly influenced by the notion of the border. People who are born here, people who are born anywhere in Latin America, are highly influenced by that concept, by that notion. So I went to the ecology building at the University of Minnesota, where they lent me some specimens. This is a bald eagle. I just learned that there's only 2 eagles in the United States, the bald eagle and the golden eagle. The gold eagle being an important icon to American society. And the golden eagle, an important icon in Mexican. Actually, this is the eagle that is in the flag, the Mexican flag. And I was questioning a lot of stuff. What would happen if I display them horizontally? What would happen if there's a number of them? They stop being an icon, they become a specimen. And actually, I'm not sure if you can see them, some of them have tags, and the tags name how did they acquire the bird and how, under what circumstances and whatnot. That last semester, they gave me some funding to go to the border. And I started in San Diego, Tijuana. This is one of the first pictures that I took, and is a great start for me. It is a migrant that is waiting right there at the border. You can see in the back this metal post, that's the border fence. And he has a tattoo, and that is St. Jude. And if I have it correctly, St. Jude is the saint of the impossible causes, the difficult causes. And I thought, this is an interesting thing, right? His friend right next to him had all these tattoos. I wanted to challenge myself because most of the work that I do is portraiture. But this time I wanted to photograph landscape. I wanted to photograph what is the American landscape? What does it mean? What this borderlands means to both cultures, to the American and the Mexican. And I thought of this as a topographic, like a road map, a topographic landscape. And from there, I mean, you can see his family, his 2 kids, his last name, grandpa, grandma, mother, father, is all there. So I started to photograph. First in San Diego, this is from the San Diego side. This is from the Tijuana side. And right now it looks completely different. There's a lot of barbed wire, and there's a lot of, there's more barriers, and it's more complicated. And always thinking about north and south, up and down. These are the prototypes that Trump had commissioned. There were 8 of them in total. None of them were selected to actually be a border fence. These are millions of dollars in a political stint. I tried real hard to access them through the United States, but a couple mile radius from them, I couldn't access them. There was Border Patrol, and I asked if I could go in and photograph them. They're like, no, it's not going to happen. But I knew that I can see them from the Mexican side. So I grabbed a taxi. The taxi driver knew exactly what I was talking about, and he took me there. I put a couple buckets and a tire, and I was able to see the 8 prototypes without a problem. This is again in San Diego. You can see the amount of Border Patrol. Now it's even worse. Now it's militarized. So you're going to find National Guard and actually all types of different law enforcement. I found absurd pieces of landscape where pieces are missing. I'm very interested in history, so every time that I see one of these monuments from the 1800s, I photograph it. This is in Juarez. This is in Tijuana. There's 234 markers from the 1800s that tell you specifically where the border is. And I was interested in the landscape because in both countries, in Mexico and in the US, particularly in the US, it was used as a colonial tool. The British troops will come to America and will bring an artist with them. And the artist will draw, paint, print make the landscape so they can go back to Europe and say, gentlemen, this what we see here is ours now. Not only that, it's for sale, you can come and occupy this. So with that information in my mind, I set up to photograph landscape in a diorama way. This is in New Mexico, this is in Texas, during the day, during the night, where the landscape has been altered. This is a private property of a rancher that decided to put facilities and water for migrants. I photographed the top of the line surveillance devices, surveillance technology. This is actually taken from war. There's a blimp, they elevate that, and they can track migrants, and they can track planes, and you name it. There's a number of them along the border. And also the most archaic devices to track migrants. I found these contraptions by the thousands along the border. And how they are used is they are chained and they are hooked to a border truck. And the border truck will drag these tires along the terrain to even it out, the terrain. So if a migrant crosses or a group of migrants cross, they will know how many, at what time. Is a hunting device. And these are really, I have thousands of photos of these devices. One of the things that were interesting to me was the notion of the border. When there is no fence, how can you tell where is Mexico and where is the United States? So these couple of photos is going to be very hard for you to know which side is which. The Rio Grande, Rio Bravo acts as a border, but it's going to be very hard for you to tell which side is which. The same here. The river goes inside the canyon. One side is Mexico, one side is the US. And my point is, the border is a man-made construct. It is not something natural. It is something that we have imposed. Finding also interesting pieces of, they call it Norman defense, and just in the middle of the desert. This one is a joke for me, is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I was driving in Arizona, and then I saw it. I had to turn my car back and photograph it. I also find some disturbing edifications. If you pay close attention, this building doesn't have a roof, doesn't have facilities. So if anybody of us is put there during the summer, midday, it's going to be 115 degrees. If we are put there in the winter at night, it's going to be probably 25 degrees. Photographing the border as something that has become normal. These couple of pictures are I took in Arizona, where the governor at that time decided that President Biden was not doing enough about the border. So he spent millions of dollars stacking train containers. I found the border fence right there to the side, but he decided to ignore that and put this, again, as a political stint. And it's not only the two containers up, because you can see that the border fence is higher, so it's easily, right? We can jump that very easily, but it has a sensor. So I tapped into the container, and in less than a minute, a border car was already there. And keep on photographing border and landscape. The border is right behind the palm trees. And I cannot help myself but go back to photographing people. Photographing the people. Yes, the land can tell you a story, but the people can tell you an immediate story. I like very much this one because it is actually the normalization of the border. This is in Juarez, so you can see there's a border patrol, there's a border fence. At night, there's intense light that is illuminating the whole area. And he is oblivious about that. He's going to fly a kite. So I thought, there's something here, because it was very shocking to me to see the amount of cement, the amount of surveillance, the amount of border patrol. From the Juarez, from the El Paso side, it looks just like a fence, just like a highway fence. And you can see there in the back the lights of Juarez. But in the Mexican side is this constant reminder that we're not welcome here. Photographing in the bridges, photographing near the border. This is in Ajo, Arizona. This is in Juarez again, where the Pachucos were originated, the Pachucas. Tijuana again. This is in Jacuma, California. And I was photographing and I can hear voices. And I'm like, what's going on here? I kept photographing and then I approached. This is a couple. He is in the Mexican side, she is in the US side, and they meet there every day. So I was able to talk to them. If they want to meet without the obstacle of the border, they have to go half hour to the crossing point and then half hour back. His mother's house is right there. You can see it at the little fence in the back. And they get together and they talk about their day and they talk about food and what they're going to eat and when are they going to meet. So I was lucky that they were nice enough to give me some time and photograph them. This is a character. I found 3 of them in Nogales, and I spent about 20 minutes with them. I convinced them to get closer to the border fence so I can photograph them. They have no intentions of crossing. They were just going around. It's called manda in Spanish. It's It's an offering. So they were going around several states, singing, chanting with a little drum, and they were going to go back to Sinaloa soon. This was at the end of their journey. This one is Texas, family portraits. This is all the way to the other side in the Gulf of Mexico. It's funny to say that now, right? We're still going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. This is the, of that journey, this is one of the last pictures where the delta sheds into the Gulf of Mexico, and there's an enormous amount of people there for fishing. And some of them, I mean, I saw that guy, this guy, I saw it in the other side, and then 20 minutes later, he was here. He's not interested in crossing and having whatever right here. He's interested in the fishing, because the river drags shrimp and all kinds of critters, and the ocean fish are waiting there. So it's very, very active, and the fishing is very good. From this specific border project, there are other projects that have emanated from this main one. In one of my trips, I learned that there's a fair amount of deported veterans, and deported veterans that also have perished in the Mexican side. So let me try to help you understand what is a deported veteran. A deported veteran is somebody that came here to the United States at a young age, and he did between 3 and 10 years of service to the armed forces, all Marines, Air Force, Army, you name it, they have served. After that, they committed a mistake, either with drugs or with arms. They get picked up by law enforcement. They are put in jail, in prison. They serve their sentence there, and at the end of the sentence, they are deported. These are people, let me tell you the story of Don Panchito. Don Panchito arrived to the United States when he was, I think, 10 years old. When he was 16, 17 years old, a requirement came to his home to serve on the Vietnam War. He presented himself to the office and said, "This is my name, this came home, but there's a couple of things. There's a couple of issues that you should consider. One, I am not an American citizen. Two, I don't speak English." And they told him, that shouldn't be a problem at all. It's not going to be a problem. Monday, you have to present yourself because you're going to start boot camp. And a little after that, he was deployed to Vietnam, where he saw some horrible things beyond my comprehension. As many soldiers, he started to smoke marijuana, and when he came back, PTSD, you name it, stress, he started to inhale cocaine. And one day somebody told him, "Hey, Panchito, in that hotel over there, there's some very cheap coke somebody's selling. You should go and check it out." He goes there, and it's a sting operation. And he gets picked up. And they put him 3 years, not for trafficking, not for possession, for attempting to buy cocaine. 3 years. He is in, he gets cleaned in prison, and when he's about to come out, they tell him, "You're not going back. You're going back home. You're going back to Mexico." He's like, "I don't know anybody, right? I'm not familiar with that country." Doesn't matter. He's discarded as useless, as garbage. He starts a bunker. They call them bunkers. There's one in Tijuana, there's one in Juarez. And he was my main contact. When I photographed him 5-6 years ago, he was married, he had kids, and he had grandkids. And he was still trying to arrange his papers to come back. And I'm trying to understand, trying to comprehend. Don Pachito, like, why do you want to go back? You're not going to work, right? You're retired. You're devoted to your fellow veteran guys. What is it that calls you there? I said, no, I'm not going to work, right? I have everything that I need here. What I want is to go back and say goodbye to my mom in the cemetery, because I was not able to do that when she passed. Again, all servicemen, some of them highly condecorated. The gentleman was deported when he was 75, and for 2 weeks he was sleeping in the street, and he was looking for that bunker in Tijuana. He couldn't find it. Nobody could tell him, like, what is that? We don't understand, what is that? And finally, after 2 weeks of sleeping in the street, he was able to find the bunker. They gave him a bed, they gave him some resources, and when I met him, he was completely fine. Marines. This is a very nice story. Mr. Barajas, when I went to photograph him, he gained back his documents, and he wanted to go to San Diego and go to college. And that was the last. He was conflicted because he wanted to serve his fellow veterans in Tijuana, because he's very much needed there, but he also wanted to go and study. From, again, that border project, I've been photographing border saints. These are secular, these are not attached to the church. Juan Soldado in Tijuana, Teresa de Cabora in Arizona, and Pedrito Jaramillo in Falfurrias, Texas. A year ago, I was able, for the first time, I've been going to the border, I'm crossing the border through the bridges, and I was able to navigate the border. I got somebody that is an expert on river navigation, and he took me to navigate right there in Eagle Pass, Piedras Negras. And I focused more on the U.S. side because the Mexican side was pristine. It had bicycle paths, it had benches, it had trees, but the U.S., this is the images that I was able to get. Containers, razor wire. This is the wire that if you touch it, you bleed. This is highly, highly dangerous. Surveillance, being observed at all times. I was asked to put a number, a visible number this big, in my chest. Migrants already in the U.S. side trying to find a way to the authorities. Every law enforcement that you can imagine was there. Texas Rangers, police, Border Patrol, of course, National Guard. And I was there to photograph these buoys. And Governor Abbott spent an enormous amount of money. These are millions of dollars to put in, I think it's a quarter of a mile of buoys. These buoys, if you are swimming and if you encounter them, if you try to grab them, they rotate. And they were pulling people under, and they were essentially killing machines. People were dying. But it was only a quarter of a mile. So my guide told me, if you're here to photograph that, you have to have your camera ready, because we're going to go so fast that you're going to miss them. And this is not a motorized vehicle. This is a canoe. And I mean, it was impressive that I saw them and they were gone. Migrants, super happy to be in this side. Very hard images to see. Soldiers yelling at me not to photograph them. I'm very concerned about agency. So I always ask permission, right, when I'm going to do a portrait. But in this case, I thought, legally I can photograph. And I need to show these images. And after 45 minutes encounter, the river as it should be, birds chirping, the navigation was calm. We did another half an hour just navigating in a very peaceful river. This trip was very hard because for the first time I encountered somebody floating in the river, and that was hard. And there's a purpose. I mean, I photograph that person, but for identifying purposes. I sent that to the local Eagle Pass mortuary, and they were able to retrieve him. And it took me several months to recover from that. Another thing that I'm doing is going to, everywhere I go near the border, I'm visiting the county cemeteries. And all of them have an enormous amount of migrants buried there. You can see this mound there because they were exhumed. They were taken out. A university nearby with forensic anthropologists and students were taking the bodies out. In Falfurrias, they were put in plastic garbage bags. So they were taking those out and going through some examination and identification. This one is in Eagle Pass, and also you can see a patch there of dirt. They were exhumed. But they stopped doing that because the counties learned that money was going to the university and the students for them to do this project. And they said, like, no, that money should go to the county. So all that stopped completely. These are entire families that they don't know where their loved ones are. This one is from 2019, unknown from 2010, unidentified. Jane Doe, 2014. So you can imagine the thousands of families around Latin America that they don't know where their loved ones are. And that continues. So from 2 years ago to now, I decided to focus not so much in the problem, but to focus on the culture. It's a very unique culture. And kind of showing the richness of the culture. Everybody speaks two languages, everybody likes the same food, everybody listens to the same music in both sides. And they're super nice. They every time that I try to do this, I overthink things and I think, what are the obstacles, right? And people are so open for me to photograph. So I'm going to show you a last batch of photos before we open it to questions. On January, just this January, I went to Edinburgh, Macallan, and there's a flea market. And I knew of the flea market, and inside the flea market, you pay 25 cents, you get into the flea market, and the flea market looks, I mean, it's enormous. They're selling all kinds of trinkets, but right in the center, there's a live band playing cumbia. And being eccentric is the call. Being seen is important. I found some, I'm going to attempt to say Elvis, Mexican Elvis, cumbia, and people were so happy. The majority of the people are observant, and there's a lot of people, and there's a fair amount of them that dance. So I was able to go to the dance floor and ask them to be photographed. None of them gave me their real name. They go by the Gypsy, by La Tejana. Don't remember this guy. His partner is a big Mexican guy with mustache and a tejana, and he dances with high heels. It's quite a spectacle. I found a pirate dancing. I found another gypsy. And this one I took because of the t-shirt. I'm not going to lie to you. I talked to him, it's like, hey, you have the coolest t-shirt. These are different vintage cameras that he has there. I think I'm going to continue. Hopefully, if I can, I'm going to continue going to the border and photographing more than the conflict, the culture. But if we think about the border, these are our neighbors. So think about not only an obstacle, think about what are we doing to our neighbors? What are we doing to our neighbors really next door here in Northfield or wherever? I don't know, it's an interesting thing to think. I'm not gonna lie to you, things now are rough. The Latino community in Minnesota is afraid. The kids are not going to school. Parents are very careful going to their work. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and he told me, like, I saw him and he didn't look well. And I don't, Cecilio, what's up? There's something concerning you. And he said, I'm having calls. People are calling me, and they know my name, they know my son, my wife, they know where I work, and they are telling me to get out of here. And they're posing as ICE. And I said, Don Cecilio, we gotta make a plan. Let's not answer the phone anymore. And he said, I can't. This is my work comes through the phone. I said, well, let's not answer the phone if it's an unknown number or if it's out of a state. So I heard that story, and about a month after, I received a call from Tennessee. And with the information that I have, I knew that this was one of those calls. And I picked it up. And a digital distorted voice answered, asking for my name. And all the bad words in Spanish and in English came out of my mouth. And I was furious. And they hung up immediately. My point with this story is not only the administration that is doing this, it's also people who feel entitled, who have the time and resources to track people and tell them that they're not welcome here. So I'm going to leave it there. Every time that I have a talk, I want to make us comfortable. And you can ask me whatever you want. Really, whatever is on your mind, you can ask. Let's start. There's a mic here, and there's a mic over there. So if you have any questions, concerns, complaints, everything is welcome.
I'm thinking about the picture of the man.
I think we're going to change it.
I'm thinking about. Okay.
And there it is.
I'm thinking about the picture of the man and the woman in each different country, and I'm wondering if you know the story about why they're not together.
Yes. So about 3 years before I met him, there was no border fence. And his mother's house is right across. There was a little tiny fence with wire, not even barbed wire, with wire, that they can jump and he could visit his mom and then come back and be with his wife and kids. And that was a common thing. When I arrived there, they say, like, this wasn't here a year ago. And he decided to go there because, a house, a non-occupied house, is going to be vandalized. So he was there to just, to protect the property and to live there. So they decided to live that like that. Because for the longest time, they will go back and forward visiting his mom. And I'm not talking miles, I'm talking from here to the wall. They will go visit, eat there, come back, right? Actually, the whole border was like that. Yeah. And then with the obstacle of the border, it has become more complex. Yes?
So I'm haunted by that cage in the middle of the desert with no ceiling on it, done with razor wire. Is that actually used today? Is that I'll be haunted by that for a long time.
It's a very dark edification, yes. I didn't know that existed. I found it very close to Douglas, Arizona, and I found 4 of them. And before, I just stumbled upon them. There was Border Patrol. I came, I talked to them, and I told them, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up and down and photograph. And when I was done, they told me, like, you can keep on going the other side and exit right along the border. And then I was driving, and I saw it, and I didn't know what was it. And I stopped, and is such a dark object that I wasn't able to touch it. I was just staring at it. I photographed it. I kept on going, and I found 3 more. I'm not sure. The border is changing as we speak. It's changing dramatically as we speak. So every time that I visit back, there's new stuff, there's stuff that is missing, and I'm not sure if it's being used. Now, I know that in Texas they have a big facility for migrants and processing them. Now I don't know. I don't know what they're using. Yeah.
I'm wondering if, as a Mexican-American man, you arouse suspicion with a camera around your neck on the border, and if you could just tell us what that experience was like, and if overwhelmingly you felt safe or sometimes not safe, or how that went for you.
Yes. So I truly believe that there's not one picture that is worth anybody's safety, not mine or whomever I'm going to photograph. Is really not worth it. I don't purposely put myself in danger. I'm not one of those Rambo guys. I just don't have it in me. But the area it has a conflict. I think it is on the approach. And I know that there's different outcomes for that. So I talked to Border Patrol. Some of them are nice. Some of them are, they yell at me. That's okay. I mean, I respect that work as well, right? They're doing their job. I think it's in the approach. When I go to talk to people, honesty is my best tool. Is like, this is who I am. This is what I'm up to. Where are those pictures going to be? Like, well, they might be in an exhibition. They might end up in a gallery, in a library, in a talk. I don't post too much in social media, also to protect people. And crazy enough, people like honesty. People can read intentions. I don't think I have ever used a photo to harm anybody. And I'm okay if people say no, and I have to respect that. In some occasions, I just take the picture, right? Like at the border right there, there's not a chance for me to have a conversation. But for the most part, I try to approach and tell them. And I'm not one of those that is going to approach people and make conversation. And it's like, oh, by the way, I'm a photographer, and this is what I want from you. I have my camera out. They know. They can connect the dots. It's like, this guy wants something, right? And tell them, like, I'm not a reporter. And I'm glad that I'm not a reporter. I really respect photojournalism, but they have very strict rules about their work. I had a student at the U that was a photojournalism, and he will come with pictures of flowers. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but he will bring other stuff. And it's like, hey, man, you are there all the time. Why do? It's like, no, I can't. I have to be partial. I have to be partial all the time. And I'm like, I'm not like that. You can see that I'm not. I have a stake. This affects me. So I'm biased, and I want to deliver a very specific kind of story. But yeah, for the most part, people are super nice. I mean, these are a lot of people in 4 hours, 2 days, 2 hours each day, and they were happy to be posing for me. without a problem, right? Yes.
First of all, I want to thank you very much for being here and sharing your pictures and your words. I'm wondering what time frame have you taken the photos that you shared with us tonight?
So this is from 2016 all the way, the last time that I went there was on January, at least one time a year, whenever I'm not teaching. And for the most part now it has been in the winter. Okay. And it's not so hot. And yeah, because it gets really, really hot. And because I'm 4 hours, I'm driving from one town to the other.
Sure, okay. Well, I ask, partly for that information, just for all of us, but also I've been at the border twice, but certainly not for, your purposes. I have a son that did graduate school at University of Texas at Austin and in San Antonio, and he had a very good friend who was a Mexican immigrant, and the family, settled and so forth. And my late husband and I visited them in Harlingen, and we went to McAllen, and we went across, and it was just, no issues at all. Did a little shopping, that kind of thing. And then probably 8 or 10 years ago was in San Diego, and I just took the train or whatever it was, bus, and went to the border, but stayed on the U.S. side. Those experiences were totally different than what we're seeing now, and it's very shocking. But with what's going on, it's not surprising either. And the threats are right here in town. All of us have friends who are, concerned about driving to another state right now.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment. I really appreciate that. With that same mentality, me and another professor at Carleton are trying to are trying to structure over the spring break to take 20 students to the border. And we're being super careful because right now, international students, DACA students, unfortunately, we can't take them. I wouldn't risk a student to have an experience, but the college is very positive. The college is supporting us, and there's a very good chance that next spring we will be able to take 20 students there to have that same experience that you have. That is not an imaginary thing of thousands and thousands, the invasion and all that stuff that we keep hearing, that they see for themselves, that experience that area in a positive way. Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question about a different project that I believe you did, that you photographed people who live here in Northfield.
Yes.
And I saw those photographs. I think they're at the library and at the City Hall. And there were little stories about each of the photographs.
Yes.
And I just loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful, all the faces, and I really appreciated that. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that project too.
Absolutely. Northfield is a very interesting community. Unfortunately, a lot of the Latinos are still in the shadows, right? If you go to Biking Terrace, if you go to some of the apartments, right? There's still that barrier. And I thought, well, these are people that you will encounter. If you go to Main Street, we're going to be there in all the services, right? Cooking, cleaning, There's people that work in health organizations and whatnot. And I thought this is a great opportunity to confront them in a public space. And when you look at them not as this anonymous thing. This administration banks on that anonymity, these strong, like horrible migrants that are coming here to take your job. That's super scary, but it's not accurate. And if you see a face, and if you see a name and a last name, then your mind completely changes. And you can relate as a human to somebody that is in the photo. I was doing exactly the same thing, but in Faribault. And the community is great over there. It's actually, the Latino community is bigger than here. But with the current situation, I completely stopped. I was going to have an exhibition there. I was going to invite the community to see themselves in the photos. And I can't now. I can't. I don't want to put nobody in danger. And I completely halted. What I'm going to do, I think, in the next couple of months is I'm going to print everything. I'm going to give that to them, and that's it. I think hopefully in 4 years I can do this. And yeah, but I don't think right now I can do that at all. There's some tensions, but information is flowing in a way that can be detrimental for people. And if for whatever reason people are not documented, I don't want to exhibit them. I want to protect those people, yes.
Well, primeramente, Profesor Tavera, muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Yeah. I just said thank you, Professor Tavera, for being here. I just had a question. So I have family at the McAllen Mission border. Were you able to go to Los Ebanos and cross on the ferry?
Yes.
Because I know that we talked about that before.
Yes.
This last trip.
So I was showing this. No, it doesn't want to go. Yes, it will go. It was a wonderful experience. It was so cool. Let me see if I can lower here. No sound, so it doesn't distract.
So for those that don't know, before there were like borders, there used to be ferries, Los Chalanes, and that's the last, like one of the oldest and last standing ferries that still exist on the borders. And it's in a small town.
First of all, muchas gracias por venir. Te lo agradezco muchísimo. Second, thank you for bringing that up, because I showed this at the beginning when I was introducing myself, but I didn't give any context. I just make us go back and forward in the border. This is a very unique place. There's a ferry, it's a platform. 3 cars can go in. If you're by foot, they charge you $2. If you're in a car, I think it's 4 or 5, and if you have a truck, is like 6 or 7. The interesting part is that it's propelled by hand. So if you see the cable there, these are 8 Mexican men dragging, and it's wonderful. They were having so much fun. Well, they had music. It was lively. They were joking with me. It was amazing. And I was there. I went back and forward several times, and I went to the guy. He's like, I can pay. And he said, like, no, you're not going to pay. Just do whatever you want, right? Do your thing and kind of enjoy the ride. And it is very interesting because it's really less than 2 minutes and we're there. They made, I think, 40-something trips. That means 80 to close to 90 trips a day. And it was a great experience. I had so much fun. I have a photo of all of them in the platform. It was very cool. And it's the last one in that exists. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Go for it. Yeah, no, it's very hard. I mean, I mean, just to get a visa, it is a whole ordeal, and you have to wait for months to get a visa to come here as a tourist. I think it's a little faster if you're going to come here as a student, but still very hard. But if you are right there at the border, it is awfully hard. So you have to, most of the people that I encountered there at the river in Eagle Pass, they were crossing and looking for the border patrol so they can seek asylum.
What about if they were, like in the last several years, living in one place but working across the border? Wasn't that?
The transit is, I mean, Tijuana is the more transited border in the world. Yes, people come here to study. You see the buses that stop, all the kids come out of the bus, they cross the border, they have the documentation, they study here, and they go back at the end of the day. So for a commute to any person, any American in the United States, it's going to take them 10, 15 minutes to get to school. For Mexican kids, it's going to take them an hour and a half. It all depends on the traffic, on the transit. Yeah, yeah. So, is there any other question? No. So before we close. There's a fair amount of I know a lot of artists in the cities, and here, of course. And some of them come and they tell me, like, I can't do anything. I'm paralyzed. I don't have it in me to keep creating. The students at Carleton tell me, right, how can I keep on going? I have family in Chicago, I have family in Texas, I can't. A lot of people come to me and ask me, what can I do? For the artists and the students, I say, what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. Making art, being creative, is an act of resistance. For the student to go from one class to the other one, that is an act of resistance. So I'm going to put it out there for you. Coming here, knowing that I'm going to talk about this subject that is not comfortable, is an act of resistance. So I want to thank you so much for coming. I really, from the bottom of my heart, this is really courageous for all of us. So go home thinking that today you did something that is an act of resistance, and you're doing something to balance these whole dark times. Thank you.
From all of us, I would just like to say thank you so much for illuminating the humanity that lies beneath and within the landscape and the faces of the border. We are blessed to have you as part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
As Allison mentioned, this is our last presentation for this cycle of season. We'll be resuming again on September 11th with Superintendent Matt Hillman of the Northfield School District, and I, in my ask, specifically invited him not to come and speak on the dire budget situation in the Northfield Public School District, and he promptly replied that he would be delighted to come and share his personal feelings about the value of public education and what motivates him to do the critically important work that he does with such excellence day in and day out. So we hope you'll come back and join us September 11th, 2025. May you all be well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.